Yosemite has arrived, and he's going to be my cameraman for this little project. My name is Chris Gregory, and I finally learned how to sharpen knives after over 20 years in the industry. And Per Brask, who is the great-great-grandson of Eric Frost, the man who started Frost Knives in 1890. This is a Chris Gregory hoof knife. You open the box by pushing on it and getting a little piece. So when you're learning how to sharpen, being able to see what you're working on is very critical. And so you can get yourself one of these magnifying lights which shows you the blade in pretty good detail. Now when you look at the edge of a blade, it looks like the ridge of the top of a mountain. It's kind of unbelievable at what the ridges look like. So I did go and get myself a microscope so I can see it even better. And with this microscope, this is a 60 power microscope, I can look at the very edge of the blade, and I can get a good idea of just how good or how bad it is. And I want to work at about 23 degrees. You can get one of these little protractors that will allow you to measure that. There's going to be a slight curvature to the inside of almost every hoof knife, so that doesn't really match up good with the flat of a blade, flat of a file. So I'll use the smooth or the round portion of my file on the inside of my blade. Steady angle there, and it doesn't hurt if I come back the other way. Now one thing I have learned is that you don't really need to push that hard. With the flat of the file, I'll go on the back side of the blade, trying to keep it as flat as I possibly can. Next, I'll get a diamond sharpener that's fairly coarse. Just repeat the exact same steps. And I'm going to be a little bit less pressure than I was even with the file. You can see I'm getting into this area because I'm trying to stay pretty flat with this diamond sharpener. From the diamond sharpener, I go to my Mitchell, and this is an incredibly good sharpener. They're quite expensive. We'll continue with this same angle, and I can go fairly fast. The speed doesn't matter. I do use the tip of mine for a gouge, so I tend to be fairly hard on knives because of that, but it's quite a handy little gouge. And I can also twist it back and forth, as you can see there, where I'm just rolling back and forth. And I don't mind if that doesn't get shaving sharp. It's push that way, nice and flat, nice and steady, and not too hard. From there, I go to a fairly fine diamond. Same angle, nice and easy. I turn it over, and again, just nice and flat. So I've gone from a file to a coarse diamond, to a fairly medium diamond, to a pretty fine diamond. This was probably the biggest thing I learned from Per. This is a aluminum oxide buffing compound. And I will rub a piece of leather. Now this is a chrome tan leather, nice and easy and flat. And you can see how it turns a little bit silvery. That's where it's actually taking some of the metal off the blade. Inside, since you can't get to it with that, I've just glued some leather. I flattened a horseshoe, glued a piece of leather to it. Directions. But I'll just push it at that same angle that I used my file and my diamond sharpener, and see if we got it sharpened enough to shave with. And you can see how nice that just shaves that hair off of there. Get yourself some of these toys and do a good job of keeping your knife sharp. I hope this video has given you something to work with. So thank you all very much for watching. I've done a little video on how to sharpen a knife, and now I'm going to do a video on just a little bit of maintenance here. So to maintain my blade, after it's had a really good sharpening, I'll just start out with my Mitchell, and I like doing it on an anvil face. I'll push down with my hand here with the blade pointing at me, and I'll just push it where I can see those lines. I'll use easy strokes without too much pressure. Now you can put it in a vise if you'd rather. Some people would rather have it in a vise. Those long, easy strokes. By putting my index finger on there, I'm able to really control how much pressure I put down and where I have it. I'll hold it up at the edge of the anvil, and since I use this portion of my knife for gouging, it does get a little dull on me. This rat tail works very nice for that. Now this part does not have to be that sharp. This part just has to be enough that I can get a good gouge. Then I'll just turn it straight over, and now before I had it pointing at me, now I want it pointing just directly off. And I'll just try to stay nice and flat, and I'll only push one direction. Diamond is not like a file. Diamond will cut both directions. If I have to get a little bit off the end, I'll just go off the edge of my anvil right there. Alright, so then I'll move to my next step. It's going to be a very fine diamond. And I find that holding the same positions every time is an important part of this. So I'll push down here. It's nice and easy. I like to have that blade pointing right at me. Whether or not you do the tip of your knife right now is kind of up to you. I don't necessarily think I need to. So I can just catch it right there just a little bit, not a big deal. And again, go right to here. Just push straight across. Once I've done that, then I'm ready to go straight to my leather. And the leather, I'll use this aluminum oxide buffing compound. And I've tried several. I've tried the green, I've tried the pink, I've tried the yellow for wood carvers, and I find this aluminum, this white aluminum oxide is the best. I'll rub it on my leather. And again, don't push too hard. If I push really hard, I will deform the leather and it'll actually roll that edge. So I put my index finger on the knife. I just go with these nice, easy strokes. You can see how I'm raising to get, there's a slight curvature to the blade, it's not much, but there's enough that I want to just lift slightly on the handle to change the direction. Now you can see my leather is getting a little bit of black on it. That black is the metal that's actually being removed from the blade itself. This piece here is just a piece of leather glued to the shoe. Rub some of that on there. And this is a push only. So I'll go to the edge of the anvil and I'll push. If you pull back, you will scar it. That's what happened there. I'm actually going both directions, so you see I'm pushing towards that corner, and I'm pushing towards that corner. When I'm done with that, it's time to check it. And you can see how easily it shaves. And that's kind of a knife sharpening 101 demo. Thank you all for watching.